Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
And welcome to a special episode of Tales from the Fandom. Every year, it seems that I am going to dedicate myself to doing this, and hopefully my guests will continue coming back year after year. This is our second time doing this, and I have Tali coming from Canada, and we are here to talk about Wrestlemania 34.
Wrestlemania 34. It is here, and I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
I am always happy to have you, and I just have to say, Tali, that, you know, last year's WrestleMania was here in Orlando. This year, it is not here in Orlando, but it is a action-packed card. Like, I'm looking at the card when I was sending it over to you last night, and there's not really any matches that are kind of meh to me. Like, they got a good solid card with healthy wrestlers this year.
It's really a solid card. You're right. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little concerned at the beginning of the year as to what it could be shaping up as. Just because, you know, like, when you're in the midst of the Raw and SmackDown grind, it just never really seems like anything cool is building up. It always just seems kind of meh. But the card looks great. And I'm really excited for 90% of the matches. if I could put a number on it.
Well, we'll dive right in. We're not going to hold anybody up with talk of, you know, random stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about some random stuff as we get in between some of these matches. But we're gonna tackle the kickoff part of this first. And you and I both, you know, talked ahead of time, and the Cruiserweight Championship is up for grabs. They've been doing this tournament since like January, when they got rid of Enzo with his issues that he had. And so we have Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali as the two competitors for the Cruiserweight Championship. But you don't really watch the Cruiserweights, and I definitely don't watch them, but I've heard good things.
I've heard great things. My best friend, she's always going on and on about how the Cruiserweights are great and how Triple H has actually taken over control of 205 Live. But I was so hurt by the first round of 205 that I can't just jump into it, and I can't just commit to this thing until I know that it's going to be a for real thing, because 205 just gets really stale because there's not a lot of competitors, and I'm not emotionally like attached to really any of them. So I don't watch Cruiserweights, and this match itself, I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be like a great piece of wrestling, but it won't incite any like feelings in me.
I think, you know, and we're talking about WrestleMania, I think the problem is with the Cruiserweights. I really feel that they should go to how WCW used to run their Cruiserweight division, with it just being part of the show, being on both shows, and have that title be like a floating title back and forth.
Yeah.
And maybe one match per show, maybe two matches, but nothing crazy. But I really feel they get lost in the shuffle.
They really do. They don't really have a place yet, and I mean, here in Canada, we can't actually. You know how in the States you can just go onto the network and choose what you want to watch? We don't get that in Canada. It's just a channel. So if you miss the Cruiserweights on Tuesdays after SmackDown, you won't see them. It just doesn't show up on the channel afterwards. So it's really hard to keep up with them because not everybody has the time to just sit there and watch all of Raw and all of SmackDown. But I don't know. I feel like they're missing a lot of opportunity by having a lot of the Cruiserweights only fight each other. Like, I feel like there should be matches. They should be able to have matches with the heavyweights, you know?
Mm-hmm.
just because like there's so few of them, and it gets really stale just to have, the same five or six guys fighting the same five or six guys, and it's just I don't
Exactly.
know. I can't get on board yet.
Well, it's just like, it with how the WCW used to do it, we wouldn't have people like Chris Jericho or Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero in the positions that they were if they had just stuck them in the cruiserweight division and not let them go outside of those boundaries.
It's kind of like a death sentence to me.
Yeah, it does feel like that at times, but I will hope that maybe I've heard good things about Mustafa Ali, so I'd like to see him take it. Not that that means anything to anybody else, because again, don't watch it. But that's what I've got.
I do like Cedric Alexander because of his match against Kota Ibushi in the Cruiserweight Classic. That match was insane, and I loved it. Everything in the Cruiserweight Classic was amazing, and I do hear that it's just as good now, but I don't watch it, so I do kind of want to see Cedric take it, just because he's the one that I'm more familiar with, I guess.
Right. Well, that's what you got to go with. You go with the people that you're familiar with in times like these.
I don't like change.
Now, the next kickoff match is the relegated Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Some people have entered it, but I don't have a listing of who's declared and who's not declared.
I am looking at a short list right now, but they haven't really announced a ton of them.
No, and there's going to be people from NXT that are going to be in there too.
That's actually what I'm more excited about.
If you had to pick somebody to win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which really means nothing at this point, who would you want to see win that trophy for the year?
Me and my friends had this discussion the other day, and I can't remember who we settled on that was likely to win, but I feel like it's someone who hasn't been listed yet, because I don't like Baron Corbin. I don't like Mojo. I like Ty, but I just feel like he's also been lost in the shuffle. He's not really going anywhere, even though he's great. There's Dolph Ziggler, who is kind of just there for a paycheck at this point. I like Fandango. I feel like he might have a chance. And Tyler Breeze might also have a chance. Probably not Zack Ryder. And it's probably not Primo Cologne. Yeah, like I said, I think it's someone who hasn't been announced yet, but could benefit from the small push that it might give. It might be Heath Slater. It might also be Curtis Axel. No. Yeah? Who's the guy with the losing streak right now?
Oh, Kurt Hawkins.
Kurt Hawkins. That's it. Curtis Axel. Kurt Hawkins. It could be him. Just to finally break this losing streak that he's on. It might be a good way to end that. Just because it is kind of running its course at this point. So, yeah, it means nothing, as we've seen in previous years. But I would like to see maybe Heath or Curtis take it. Or Kurt, sorry. I always get it wrong.
It's the one thing where initially when they announced it, I was like, oh, that'll be cool. And we had Cesaro win it to start with, and he kind of slowly took off, but not.
He still hasn't though.
Yeah, and it's like, dang, they could really make this something if they just tried a little bit
really
harder.
Could.
And it's annoying to me, especially because I loved Andre the Giant so much as a kid. It's just annoying now. It's like, oh, well, it's just a match where they'll stick 20 people in, and who cares?
I love Rumbles. I love watching them. I think they're super fun. So I do agree that this could be big if they would just give it more than 5 minutes thought. It would be fantastic. But it just seems like they stick it on someone who they think they're going to push and then they kind of slowly forget about for the rest of the year.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it'll be a fun match. And I don't know, maybe like the Rumble, the actual Royal Rumble this year, I was not excited about, and then I was blown away by it. So who knows? Maybe they have something good planned for this one too. And I am excited for a bunch of NXT guys coming up too.
Yeah, there's always that opportunity for like 2 or 3 of them to show up, and it's like, oh, who are those?
Yeah.
Okay, they're NXT people.
They're always great, and I really enjoyed seeing them at Royal Rumble.
Now, on the flip side, we have the first ever women's battle royal.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that if I'm picking someone to win it, I either see like Becky Lynch taking it, or we're gonna have some kind of dark horse again from like NXT, maybe come up through the ranks and take it.
Yeah, I don't know if they would give it to someone right off the bat from NXT, just because it's like the first one, and well, maybe like I have a strong feeling that Ember Moon is coming up, and that would be a good place for her to start, I guess, because I mean she'll probably have lost the title the night before, so maybe. I haven't really given it too much thought, just because I have figured that maybe probably Becky will win, because she's been so not slighted, but kind of on the outskirts of the attention lately. She's just kind of there when she should be like one of the main girls. So I would probably agree with that. I again don't have too much to say about this one, just because the initial impression I was not for it. Not because it was a women's battle royal, but because of the name that it took to begin with. And
Right.
that kind of soured the experience for me. So I'm sure it'll be great though.
I am happy that they decided to go back and just be like, you know what, we're wiping that slate clean. We're not going to call it that, instead of moving forward with it.
Definitely a good call on their part to get rid of that.
Now, going from this kickoff period, so that's going to be like 2 hours or an hour plus like all the video packages that they're going to do. But we're going to get into the meat of WrestleMania.
The rest of the 8-hour show.
I cannot. I don't understand how people could just be there for that long. Like, you and I both go to like conventions and stuff, like like video game conventions and comic book conventions and stuff. It's like I'm there for 8 hours just walking around and taking a break and stuff. I don't know how I could be sitting or standing next to somebody for 8 hours on top of waiting in line to get in, and I just.
Like, we kind of make it into a little party, like a little house party. We invite a bunch of friends over, and we've taken to cooking themed dinners or snacks for our pay-per-views. So obviously, because this one is in New Orleans, we're doing like a southern dinner with po' boys and jambalaya. But for Elimination Chamber, we called it Elimination Chamber, and everything was lemon themed. That was a tough night. That was very tough. And then for Fastlane, we did a fast food challenge. So we kind of make it into a little party, and it's like, even if the show is like 8 hours long, we're still there hanging out with our friends and just like eating snacks, hanging out, and watching some wrestling. So I can't imagine what it's like to actually be there in a seat for 8+ hours. And I probably will never know that. But I don't know, especially in like a bad seat, that would suck. If you had a good seat, it would be okay.
I cannot imagine sitting in a stadium for that long.
It's a lot.
At all.
And imagine like trying to go to the bathroom, trying to get food and drinks, you know, we have to like come and go. Ugh.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's not for me. Not for Mania, at least.
Now let's kick it off with probably my favorite wrestler of the past couple years, and he's going in
Oh
champion,
my.
intercontinental champion,
Oh
The
my god.
Miz, and he's got, you know, two competitors, really solid ones too, with Finn Balor and Seth Rollins trying to take his intercontinental championship away. And I will say that The Miz is not going to leave WrestleMania without that championship.
Really? You think he's gonna retain?
I think he's going to retain only because he is close enough to becoming the longest reigning intercontinental championship ever between all of his different reigns. And the only way that they're going to take it off of him is if they bump him up to where he should have been a couple years ago, challenging for the world championship.
But he just had a kid. He just had the daughter born, so I figured he'll probably take some time off.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree. I like The Miz. I think he's great. He's a great heel, and just watching him makes me laugh, and I like that. But I do believe that Finn Balor is coming out champ, and I get that The Miz is close to this longest reign, but he'll be back, and he'll be back to get the IC title again. Like, that's just his title at this point. But I really do think that Finn Balor needs it to kind of establish himself and give himself some credibility. Just not because he doesn't have credibility, but because to the casual fan, he might not yet.
Mhm.
And he hasn't had a title since he had to give up the Universal.
Yep.
So I really do think that Finn is the pick for this match. Not because I don't love Seth Rollins. I love Seth Rollins, and he's been my favorite in WWE for like going on 4 years now. But I really do think I have to go with Finn Balor for it. And it, regardless of who comes out, this match is going to be insane. It's going to be so good. Like, I was watching Raw this week, and there was a little preview between Finn and Seth, and it was fantastic. So I can't even wait for what they've got planned for Mania.
Yeah, it is going to be really good, and it's probably going to be one of those matches where I don't know if it'll be match of the night, but I think it'll come close.
I think it'll come close, definitely. I think it'll be a close runner-up, and actually what I'm most excited about is the entrances for that one. I am so excited for the entrances on that match, just because of like what Seth did last year, and Finn's usual entrance is already so great. So that'll be really fun. I think that'll be a really fun, really great match to start it off with. And if they're not careful, it might be it might be downhill from there.
Now, do you think before we switch to the next one, do you think Finn is going to come out with his demon persona?
I've been thinking about that, and I don't really know. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that they're not trying to phase out Demon Finn. That would make me very upset. But they haven't really been pushing the demon persona, and like, do you remember the feud with him and Bray Wyatt? Like, they were pushing.
Yes.
And like every opportunity they had, they would mention the Demon King, Finn Balor. So that tells me that he will be regular Finn. But I don't know. Maybe he could do like a mix of both. I don't know. But I do feel like he might just come out as normal Finn. But I would really like to see the demon come out again.
It would be a nice touch, especially for Mania.
Yeah, like he hasn't done it in so long, and he used to just kind of make it a random occurrence in NXT, right? Like it would only be for big matches or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it would be nice for him to come out again as it, just because it's so different, and you know it's on when he comes out as the demon.
Exactly. And on the flip side of things, we have on the SmackDown side the United States Championship in a now it's a four-way.
Yes.
Randy Orton's coming in as the champion. He won it at Fastlane. He has Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal, and Rusev. There's it's not exciting for me. I am not a Randy Orton fan at all, so
Neither.
it's hard for me to get into like his kind of matches. I'd really like to see the championship get taken off of him,
Me too.
and if I have to choose, it either go back to Bobby Roode or we need to have respect for Rusev Day.
I am strongly in favor of Rusev Day. The gimmick is so over. Like, it's like he's selling the most t-shirts in the company. He's the most He's like the most celebrated wrestler in WWE right now by the crowd. Like, totally organic. They tried to suppress it. You cannot suppress Rusev Day. And he just works so hard. And like, the man, like, have you seen him recently? He looks amazing. And I don't even think that he needs Aiden English. He's just so organically over. And I love him for it, and I want to see him as the champ, the U.S. champ. And
Me too. It's the same thing that happened with Daniel Bryan, I feel, but now it's happening to Rusev.
it's a little more silly than what happened to Daniel Bryan, but it's like, you just love Rusev. Like, who does not love Rusev? He's the best. And Randy Orton, he's just not really for us. Like, us as fans are very different from, like, kind of like typical older fans. I think he resonates with, maybe because of his name, maybe because of his style. I'm not really sure, but Randy just doesn't resonate with me, and I don't. I've never really liked him, and I don't really have a reason, because he actually did a great RKO out of actual nowhere this week on SmackDown, and it was hype. It was really cool, but that's not enough to make me like him. It's just enough to, like, get me excited for like 2 minutes. So I want to see it on Rusev. I don't really care about Jinder Mahal, even though he's from my city. And Bobby Roode, or Bob Roode as we like to call him, he has not been the same since NXT. And I've been on the train of, since NXT, since early Bob Roode. His gimmick is more than he is. He doesn't really match up to his gimmick. And if it weren't for the robe, it weren't for the song, he would be typical, like, he would just be a typical mid-card guy. And that's kind of just what he is, Mr. Mid-card right now. So yeah, this match, I am glad that they kind of put all of the guys that I just don't care about into one match against Rusev, who I do care about, so that Rusev can win and we can just all collectively forget about the other ones.
I think, looking over these matches, I think this is the one where I'm like, if anybody but Rusev wins this, I'm really just going to be disappointed.
Totally.
As a fan overall.
So disappointed. It's Rusev's time. Give it to him.
And staying on SmackDown, we'll switch now to the Tag Team Championship, where we have the Usos coming in as champions. They've been feuding with the New Day, and we finally have the Bludgeon Brothers, which is the repackaged Wyatt family, Eric Rowan and
Luke Harper.
And I was high on those two way back when it was like they're fighting the Shield and they were doing all that stuff, destroying like Goldust and Stardust, and really on fire back then. And I'm psyched for them now. I don't know if they'll take it, but if they do, I'll be happy with it. I'd kind of like to see the New Day kind of get away from tag team stuff and more become like a Four Horsemen or Evolution style team where they go after individual championships.
You want to see them become a stable rather than a tag team.
Exactly. Instead of like a Freebird tag team.
I completely agree. I feel like the New Day, I love them to death, but they've done everything there is to do as a tag team. So I do want to see them. I also want to see them go after singles titles. Maybe they could all be collectively holding a title in a Freebird sense. I don't think that they will win this particular match. I either think that the Usos will retain or the Bludgeon Brothers will get their championship just to validate or give them some credit, because they don't really have too much credit right now. It's not very believable, and I think that the gimmick has kind of missed the mark. And it might be because of the hammers. If it were just like cool costumes or like a little bit cooler costumes, I might be on board. But watching them throw around these supposedly metal hammers. These hammers are supposedly solid metal. Okay? And so why are they able to swing them around so easily with like one hand? And why do these hammers bounce? Like they're foam. Don't like I feel like my intelligence is insulted every time I see them just because of these stupid hammers. And I get it, they're Bludgeon Brothers, but like the hammers bounce on the ground. If it were steel, it would not bounce and you would be killing people with these.
Exactly.
Like, I know that this is something that I need to suspend my disbelief for, but it's like insulting at this point. And I only think about these things because I'm a cosplayer. I make these things. Like, I know how you made that, and I know how much it weighs. I know that it weighs 2 pounds. So it bothers me. It rustles my jimmies a little bit, and I don't like that. So in this particular match, I want to see the Usos retain.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I've always had a problem with the people that have the gimmick of carrying the sledgehammer around, whether it's like Triple H or whoever. It's like you are not fooling anyone. You get hit with a sledgehammer and you're going to be out. Like the person's going to be out for at least a couple shows. They're going to have really serious injuries. Steel chair, yes, absolutely fine. But come on, sledgehammer, get over it.
It's one thing with Triple H because he's never actually hit anyone with a sledgehammer the proper way. It's always like with the end of it or with the wood side of it. And I get it. You're not actually supposed to hurt these guys. I totally understand that. But when I see these guys come down the ramp with these giant ass hammers that are made of foam, clearly out of foam, it's insulting. And like you're acting like you're crushing things and like breaking TV screens with these, and you're acting like you're actually hurting these people with a sledgehammer. Not even a sledgehammer. It's like a giant hammer. But it's bouncing on the ground. Like, at least make it 10 pounds and it won't bounce. Like, just really anything would help. Give it some weight.
Exactly. Yes, I was just going to say that. Give it some weight so you can actually, see the thud. Even if it is something that they can handle with one hand or one arm, it's believable for them to be able to do that. I mean, come on, look at those guys.
It would be way more believable if it just had some weight to it. Or, like, what if they took it the exact opposite way and it was just like super heavy and you had to like drag the hammer to the ring? Like that would get me going. But it's just insulting at this point, and the gimmick I don't care for. I know that Luke Harper is a great wrestler and he doesn't need it. I don't really know too much about Eric Rowan, but I do know that Luke Harper as a person and as a wrestler is great, and you don't need to do this to him. Yeah. That's like, these are the things I think about as someone who makes costumes, and it just drives me nuts when I see it.
Well, let's not drive. Well, this match might drive you nuts. On the other side of the tag team championships, we have Cesaro and Sheamus, aka The Bar, which might be the worst tag team name I've heard in a while.
It's pretty bad.
And you have them going against Braun Strowman, and he has to apparently have a partner. That's like the thing that he's required to have.
Yeah.
So I guess number one, is Braun Strowman going to win the tag team championships? And if so, who's going to be the unlucky person to be his partner?
I have two theories. Personally, I would have loved to see Braun just do it himself and walk out tag team champion just as the one guy, like one on both shoulder. I think that would have been great. But if he has to have a partner, and they haven't announced who it is, even though I did really love the segment this week where he came out as Brain.
Yes.
And he was just like him in a disguise. Like that was great. That was great TV, and I want more of it. I have a feeling that it's going to be the repackaged Bray Wyatt.
Okay.
Because Bray was thrown in the lake of reincarnation, and I know that he wasn't involved, but he has to come out as a different character. If you want to play by deletion rules, he has to come out a different character. And I mean, everybody else is kind of busy. I mean, maybe it could be like an old guy. Maybe it really could be anybody, but the only person who's not on this card, who has been on Raw recently, who really does need the push, would be repackaged Bray. And I don't know what it will be, and I don't know if it'll be any good, but I could see that. And then there's like the possible, old guy, whoever, bring back whoever. At that point, it does have to be like someone big, It has to be like a big dude.
Right.
Or it could be Big Cass. I was also considering that. Because I hear that Big Cass is like ready to go.
Yep, that's what I heard too.
And that could be good too. I want to see him get another chance after what happened to him. It's just really tragic.
Yeah, it is definitely something. And I almost wish, and I don't think you've watched like some of the 80s WWF stuff back in the day, but I wish Braun could pull a Killer Bees, which is, it used to be two guys who'd wrestle and then they would like put luchador type masks on so you could never tell which one was which. Right. And I wish Braun could do that, go under the ring and then come back out as Brain and wrestle and then go back under and change again and be Braun again. I like that would crack me up.
I would love that. That's exactly what I want. And I would be so happy if he were to get both titles like that.
Now, the only thing that I see as a problem is you've built up Braun Strowman. Now, I love how much how far he's come from coming up being part of the Wyatt family. But I feel like on the other hand, depending on how you do this match, you could really destroy like any credibility that Sheamus and Cesaro have as wrestlers. And I like Cesaro, not so much Sheamus, but I'd really like to see Cesaro go further in his career than just the tag team championship. But
Definitely.
it just depends on how this match plays out and what happens.
That's a good point, because if it gets a little too silly, it would take away some credibility. And if Braun Strowman himself, just one guy, destroys the bar, that would take away a lot of credibility from them, because they are booked quite strong. But I do agree that Cesaro, I don't know if he's ready for it yet, but he really does need a singles run again. Just because he's like so much better than a tag. Not that tag teams are bad. Like, I don't want to get into the headspace that tag teams are inherently bad, because that's just not true. But I do think that he deserves a title run, and like a good one, not just kind of thrown in. But I am kind of personally, I'm over the bar. I don't really get it to the point where other people seem to be getting it. But I love Braun Strowman. He from where he started with the Wyatts to where he is now is like night and day. I didn't care for him at that point, and just somewhere over like the last 5 months, he just started clicking. Like, it just made sense for him to be the guy. Like, they always want to make Roman Reigns the guy, but it's so clear that Braun Strowman is the guy. He's so great. And he's funny, he's charismatic, he can do really any segment you put him in. And he's like he's a lot better with his wrestling. He's really putting in a lot of work.
If they hadn't have already booked the way that they had booked the Universal Championship match, which we'll get to in a few minutes, but if they hadn't have already done that, I would have loved to have seen Braun already be the champion.
Oh, definitely. I think he would have been if it weren't for like contract reasons. So I think that once that's out of the way, he will be on a clear path towards that. But for now, I really do think I think it's really fun that they would put him in the tag team division, and whoever ends up being his partner, like, I'm hopefully pleasantly surprised by. And if it does turn out to be repackaged Bray Wyatt, I hope it's good. But I have a feeling that whoever the partner is, they won't need to do much. Like, he won't even tag them in,
Right.
Or, like, the best case and most unlikely case, like, put in Alexa. Like, the mixed match stuff with Braun and Alexa was just, so good. Like, I want to see them together in real life forever. And I know she's engaged, but I want them together. That was magic what they created there.
And it's magic what you have created, because it's a perfect segue into the Raw Women's Championship match with Alexa. I know you are.
I'm like a co-host.
So we've got So we've got Alexa Bliss coming in as champion against Nia Jax, which is the one match that I felt was the kind of predictable one early on, that you kind of knew that was the direction they were going. And as much as I love Nia Jax for how she's come along as a wrestler, I can't see it going off Alexa. I love Alexa as one of the main women in the WWE women's division.
Great.
She is like, not only is she great, like, she has improved so much from when she got to SmackDown and what she's accomplished on both shows. I can't see her losing the championship.
She is truly the greatest heel on the show. Like, she's so good. And like, her wrestling has come so far. She's come so far on the mic. Like, she's so believable as this cowardly heel champion. I love it. And she's so believable. And just everything she does with her face, her mannerisms, the way she delivers her lines, like, it's just been so good. And I would hate to see the belt come off, but I do think that Nia will be taking it. Just because Alexa's had it for so long at this point, and they've been building Nia up as this like machine, this woman destroying machine.
Mm-hmm.
So I do see Nia Jax taking it because I feel like Nia won't let her leave the ring. She won't let her like run away, and there won't be any
Right.
like shenanigans in this match. Hopefully, or at least Alexa will try, and Nia will not allow it. I like Alexa. I like her way more than I like Nia, but I do see Nia taking it.
Okay, it'll definitely be a good match, I think.
It's a big WrestleMania for change, I think. And Nia's come so far and and worked so hard and endured a lot of mismanagement and poor booking, and she's just been there like waiting for her opportunity. So I do see this happening. I see this happening, and I see Nia Jax holding it for at least until SummerSlam.
Now on the flip side of things, we have probably one of the biggest WrestleMania matches, not only for this card but for the women's division, and you have Charlotte Flair as the champion going against Asuka, who won the Royal Rumble and is going in with an undefeated streak. And I saw a discussion today with somebody, and they were wondering, number one, is Charlotte Flair the one to break that streak, beat Asuka, and retain? Or is it Asuka's time with the championship on this stage to beat Charlotte?
I think this is the match that is like most believably unpredictable because it is so real to me. This match is so real to me at this point. They did such a great job building this, and they did such a great job booking this. Like, I am so excited for this match because I honestly have no idea how this is going to go down. Usually I have like a pretty good idea of like how it's going to shake out. But this one, it could go either way because it's Charlotte Flair. You know, she's like one of the best in the business right now. She's insanely good. I love her to death. But Asuka, man, like, it's Asuka. You can't beat her. And there's like a couple different ways of thinking about it. And Charlotte could retain and just further establish herself as the most dominant women's champion almost ever, if not ever at this point. And Asuka losing would be a WrestleMania worthy moment in itself because it's just like, when does it happen if it's not at WrestleMania? It's not going to happen at Battlegrounds. It's not going to happen at Money in the Bank. Like, those are not big enough for Asuka losing. And this is kind of the only way that you can break the streak. So there's that way of thinking about it. On the flip side, Asuka could win, and she has worked so hard and come and like really dominated the entire division so much, and then come over to SmackDown just to challenge Charlotte. Like, she should be champion. Asuka should absolutely be the champion because she is the best on the roster. And I often contemplate like who could really beat Asuka, and I'm not even sure if the person to beat Asuka is even on the roster yet, you know? I'm not sure if they're even in NXT.
Yep.
If it's not done at WrestleMania, then she will continue the streak until like next WrestleMania, you know? Which I wouldn't have a problem with, and she does deserve to be champion. She's just that good. And then there's the quite obvious cashing in of the women's Money in the Bank from Carmella. And I'm picturing this from like a Brock Roman Seth moment where, you know, Charlotte and Asuka are bruised and bloodied, and, you know, it's nearing the end of the match, and then suddenly Carmella comes running out, cashes in, and she either pins Charlotte, or I don't see her pinning Asuka. Asuka would not allow that. But I honestly think if that's the case, that Carmella cashes in her Money in the Bank and then proceeds to lose to Asuka. Asuka will pin her even then. And I think that would deliver even so much more dominance to Asuka, that she's the best in the business in WWE right now. And, you know, like, Carmella doesn't need the win. She really doesn't need it. She doesn't need the belt. She's not at that point, but she does need to get rid of the briefcase. So I could see Asuka getting up after she has cashed in. Asuka gets up and like puts Carmella on the Asuka lock, and then that's it. Asuka comes out as champion and has won against Charlotte Flair and Carmella, and that would be hype. Like, Seth did it. I mean, he didn't lose, but he cashed in, and it was amazing.
Right.
But you can't just do the same thing. So it might be interesting to see someone cash in and promptly lose.
Right. I would love to see. I've got it booked in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So Asuka has her submission hold on Charlotte, and Charlotte does not give up.
Yeah.
Charlotte does what happened with Steve Austin, Bret Hart, and just he you know, they're like, nope, you know, pass out. She's out. Ring the bell. Asuka's champion. Carmella comes down, cashes in, quick kick to the head, pinned, done. Asuka's champion. So
you think that Charlotte will not tap out, but she'll probably pass out, and then
right. She won't give up.
Charlotte will not give up. There's no way. Huh. But then they would have, instead of it becoming a 3-way, it would just start a new match right then and there.
Yeah, it essentially have like that new match where they ring the bell. Charlotte's still passed out in the corner somewhere. Carmella, you know, tries to cash in, catching Asuka off guard, and then just takes a quick kick to the head. 1, 2, 3, and you're done.
I'm torn between the 3-way and the second match way, but I think either way, Carmella will cash in and lose.
And then we'll maybe see about who gets the money in the bank the next go around.
I was I was choked the way that they handled it last year. Not that Carmella's a bad Miss Money in the Bank, but it was handled poorly, and I want to see like a good match from it this time.
Right. I want to see someone that is a believable threat with the briefcase.
Yeah. It's just not believable, and it became kind of silly, and I love Carmella. I think she's great, but it kind of missed the mark.
It did.
But the match will be amazing, and regardless of who wins, like Charlotte and Asuka, both of them are just so amazing that I'm just excited to watch the match regardless of who wins. My only regret is that the stadium is not open, so there will be no fireworks for Charlotte. So
now, switching gears to our mixed tag match, we have Stephanie McMahon and Triple H against Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey. And I want to start off by saying I really feel like the way that they introduced Ronda Rousey at Royal Rumble was incredibly disrespectful
So
to
disrespectful.
Asuka and Alexa Bliss and Charlotte, for her coming into that ring, pointing at the sign and being like, "I'm going to WrestleMania." Like, come on.
Yeah. No,
I don't care
completely
who
agree.
you are. Like, that's so disrespectful.
It was incredibly disrespectful. I completely agree with that. Like, when that happened and she could barely keep a straight face, I was like, this is it. Like, it's all downhill from here because they're going to give all the attention to Rousey now.
I am happy that she was not put into a title situation.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that is good, is that she's not anywhere near the title at this point.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was worried that they were going to give it to. I was worried that Rousey was just going to take one of the titles and that would be it, when both champions have worked so much harder to get to where they are, and she just kind of shows up and takes one. Like, that's not fair. So I completely agree that her showing up at Royal Rumble and kind of ruining the moment for Asuka to pick who she wanted to face, even she did eventually, but that moment was ruined because of her, and the way that she handled it was really not fair to any of the competitors in the ring. And the way that she couldn't stop smiling, she couldn't stop, pointing. It was just like a weird point, smile thing, and then she left. It was really bad. And I did not have high hopes for it. But I do like how she's been handled since then. I do like the interactions between her, Steph, and Triple H. Kind of Kurt Angle is kind of just the extra guy at this point to me. But I do like the interaction that Steph and Rousey are having. But even more so, I like Rousey and Triple H. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like if I could see these two fight, I would be so happy. Just like the way that she almost chokeslammed Triple H, she sold it so well, and I was like super hyped for it. But then obviously she didn't chokeslam him, and I was upset by that. But I think it'll be an entertaining match. I kind of wish that Kurt Angle had been switched out for The Rock because of the initial Rousey and Rock angle from 2 years ago. And I feel like that would have given it a lot more hype. I would have been more excited about that because Kurt's just kind of thrown in there. But I do think it'll be a really interesting match. And I think, it's your typical main event that's not main event. Triple H has to have his part in the show. Stephanie will take one hit through a table and she'll be out for 3 months, 4 months. But I am excited to see where Rousey's wrestling is at. Where is she actually technically at with her work yet? Because we haven't really seen her do anything.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good indicator of where she stands as opposed to the other women on the roster. And we'll get a good indication of if we're now stuck with somebody that is just going to be like, okay, she's got the name and then she gets the title, but she doesn't have the chops to back it up. Kind of like, and right. I hate to pull a wrestling name out, but Goldberg. I hope we don't have a Goldberg situation with her.
Yeah.
But I see Angle and Rousey winning. I'm not sure who Rousey is going to make tap out. She might make Steph tap out or might make Triple H tap out. But someone's tapping out to Ronda Rousey.
I strongly believe that Stephanie will tap out to Ronda. Just because of, like, the way that they've been interacting, like, it's very clear that those are the two with the heat, and the guys are just kind of like there to support their respective woman. Not that Angle is with Rousey, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, like, as their tag team partner, they're just kind of there. And I guess there is some heat between Triple H and Kurt, but, like, it's not believable. And I mean, I don't believe it for a second, but
Right.
but I do kind of, like, there is some, like, heat between, not real heat, but, like, Stephanie and Rousey have more chemistry, and it's very clear that they're trying to, like, revive the Vince McMahon and Stone Cold rivalry of beating up your boss. So I don't know. I do believe. I think that Rousey and Angle will win. I don't know if this will necessarily be a great match, but it will be a match, and that's all it really needs to be, I guess.
Yep. It will be a match.
That'll be like a good match for eating during,
Yes, or if you need to step away for a moment, because Triple H's entrance will take half an hour.
Right. Like, I'm excited for the entrances, but I could probably do without the main part of the match.
Now, continuing with the McMahon family being on WrestleMania, we now go back to SmackDown, and we have the match where I'm excited about, but I really wish it wasn't happening because I want so much more. But we got Shane O'Mac and Daniel Bryan against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. If Kevin and Sami win, they get to have their jobs back, essentially. So right there, they're winning. I can't see them not winning and getting their jobs back, but I am so excited that they have finally cleared Daniel Bryan,
Oh my God.
which now opens up the possibilities of matches like Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan and Nakamura. Like, give me everything. Give me everything now.
Hook it into my veins right now. I cried. I sobbed. I wept for Daniel Bryan when he retired. I was broken. Like, I remember when he announced it, and I was just like beside myself. And
my heart dropped.
Right? Like, he used to, I mean, he still is now that he's back, but before he retired, he was my favorite wrestler. And when he retired, I was just like, I can't deal with this. Like, it was so sad. And you could tell how empty he was as a GM, just knowing that he couldn't go out and actually do what he wanted to do. It was very upsetting. And now that he's back, like, his speech, or like him coming out and announcing it like 2 weeks ago, it was just, what a great feeling. Like, I cried again because what he said was just so, like, powerful, and that's the Daniel Bryan that I know and love. And it's just so good to have him back, and like him going up against Sami and Kevin that same night, just like the couple drop kicks that he gave. I was like, oh my God, he's actually back, and he's actually still good. Like, it's really happening. So Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn is going to be insane. And if Shane gets inserted into this match, then so be it. I will take it. But this match is going to be amazing, and I'm so excited to see it. I've gone on record to say that I'm not a big Shane fan, because I feel like, I know that the McMahons they are the show. They are part of the show. I get it. They are the authority, and there's always going to be some storyline where they are the main part of it. But Shane I never really watched him in his earlier days. So when I see Shane, I see a older, not wrestler inserting himself into an important storyline that he wants to be part of, so that he can do some stupid stunts. And I know people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But I'm more just excited to see Daniel Bryan go up against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, because these guys are amazing performers, and regardless of the outcome, it's going to be incredible. And Daniel Bryan's first match back has to be amazing. So I actually see Daniel Bryan winning, only because they're making it very clear that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn would get their job back on SmackDown. It says nothing about Raw, so they could easily just put them on Raw. And that would be that.
I got my booking. I got my booking for this. Okay. You get the all-out match that we're expecting. You get, everything that you want from Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan going at it. You get the required Shane bump of whatever that's going to be for his WrestleMania spotlight. So you got it, and you're going into it, and you're like, okay, Shane and Daniel, they're about to win, right? And then Daniel turns on Shane, drags like Kevin or Sammy on top of him, and 1, 2, 3, and then you got those three as like this heel contingent running SmackDown.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I didn't even consider that Daniel might be double crossing Shane.
I would love that.
I like that a lot, because those guys, like, they're clearly supposed to work together. Like Daniel Bryan, Kevin, and Sammy, they're perfect for each other. And, they kind of came up together. So it makes perfect sense that he would support his old friends over Shane.
Exactly. I like that. That would be.
I like that a lot, actually.
That would be perfect. And I don't know how the crowd would react to it, but I think they wouldn't care. They would still be all for it, because Daniel Bryan's back, and now he's with like 2 other great workers, and they could just run the show. How that happens or how that takes place, who knows? But that's not for me to decide.
I like that a lot. I would be super hype if that happened. That would make my mania if Daniel Bryan turned on Shane for Kevin and Sammy. That would make it. Because I want to see them work together. I love them together.
Yes, and they all work so well. Like, that's...
Yeah, they really do.
That would be the thing. I'd love to see it to be like, okay, now you have these 3 indie air quotes wrestlers running the show. How are you going to stop them, and who's going to step up to do it? Because
you can't.
There's other wrestlers that are going to be like, well, I agree with what they're doing. Maybe I should join up with them.
Start the much needed faction of WWE.
Oh yes, we need factions. We could call this like the indie revolution.
How do you fight Bullet Club? You don't. You have to start your own faction.
Okay, we're down to 2 matches, and I'm going to put them where I think they're appropriate. And
okay.
Once again, we have...
Tread carefully here.
Once again, we have Roman Reigns headlining possibly another WrestleMania, and he's challenging Brock Lesnar. I don't like either of them. I feel that the way that they've handled Brock with the championship is completely... I like the character... Inappropriate. You have, as we said, you have Braun Strowman, who could easily have been slotted in as the Brock Lesnar role, and I understand contracts are in place, and that couldn't really probably happen, but at the same time, you don't have the champion appearing every show. Does the champion need to open every Raw or SmackDown with a 10-minute promo? No, but I
No.
expect them to be there, and I expect them to be doing something
Yep.
for
I
the
expect
show.
a fighting champion.
So I will simply say, give the belt to Roman Reigns, and whatever happens after that happens with the championship. But I don't want Brock Lesnar to be in the WWE universe anymore.
I completely agree. I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. Like, Roman coming out and calling out Brock recently has been good. I did appreciate that he, regardless of if it's scripted or not, the way that Roman has been calling out Brock has at least given him like some kind of humanity, like something to resonate with, something to kind of latch on to with Roman, that he actually is just kind of like us. And he also doesn't like Brock Lesnar, so maybe he's not so bad. I don't know if you heard it this week. There were chants for Roman, like there were not boos. People were cheering for him, and this is like the most over Roman has ever been. Just because he's finally like saying no to Brock and saying, we don't want you to be our champion anymore. You're a terrible champion. You haven't been here. You're never here. You skip work. Like, I don't know if you heard, but a couple weeks ago when they were in Vegas, I think it was Elimination Chamber. I think it might have been Fastlane, but it was in Vegas, and Brock Lesnar was also in Vegas, but he didn't show up to the show. He was taking photos on the strip with like the guy who runs UFC. Like, he was in town. He could have been there. And I know I might be getting worked right now, but like, that's a really good point. He could have been there to at least assert some kind of dominance and like show some respect to this title that we never see. Like, I kind of forget what it looks like sometimes just because we never see it. I don't know. Like, I want Roman to take it, and I also want Roman to promptly lose it. Like, I want somebody, I don't care who it is, to go after Roman and take it.
Exactly. I almost wish that there was a Money in the Bank floating around for them to just have somebody cash it in. But just give it to Roman, have Roman lose it at some point to somebody else. But like that, and that's why when I talk about the Miz and the Intercontinental Championship, like, that really Raw for a long time was the Miz show, with the Intercontinental Championship being the focus, because there was no Universal Champion. Regardless of if Brock Lesnar has the championship, but he is not visible to where anybody cares.
He is so disrespectful towards the WWE Universe and the fans that it's just like, it's insulting to have it on him. And the fact that it's been on him for a year, and I realize that that's because of contracts. Like, he signed a contract that said he would have the belt for a year, Like, we all knew going into WrestleMania 33, he was getting the belt and he was keeping it for a year. And like, I knew the second that he got it that, next Mania is Brock versus Roman. So it's just like, get rid of him. Do not re-sign him. I know that the contract is expiring soon, so do not re-sign this guy. Let him go back to UFC. Like, we don't want him. I know that there are people in, like, fans of WWE that like Brock, but nobody that I've never spoken to a Brock fan. I've never met one in real life. And Roman at least is there. He's at least there. He's at least like visible. He'll at least defend the championship, even though he's not my favorite. He's not.
Right.
He's he's like too unbelievable. But maybe, you give it to Roman, he can promptly lose it, and maybe Roman can put in the work to get better. Like, give the man some new moves, more than two, maybe. So this match, I hope it's short and sweet. I want Brock to lose very quickly, but I know that he probably will drag it out. Just from remembering from like the last time they fought.
Exactly. Now let's get away from the match that we hope it ends in a very quick time to a match that number one should be the last match on the card.
Yes.
And I could only hope that they give it a minimum of 30 minutes
to
let them go.
Minimum for like 45 to an hour at least.
We got AJ Styles, who is finally coming in as champion, where he should have been coming in, I think it was last year as champion, and they had switched the title off of him. But he's coming in as champion, and he's going against Shinsuke Nakamura, who, for the time that he's been in SmackDown, I feel like half the time he was mismanaged or he wasn't taken care of properly. But now we have this matchup that I'm going to say is probably the contender for it's going to be match of the night if they give it enough time.
Yes, I completely agree. This should in all theory be the match of the night. I don't know if it'll be the match of the weekend, but it has a possibility to be. This match is going to be insane. Like, this is huge. I can't believe that I'm finally looking at this official card and it says AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and it's not a New Japan card, I'm like a huge New Japan mark. I love New Japan. It's my favorite promotion. But this is gonna be something else. And I will say that I don't know if it'll be as good as the first time they fought. Or not the first time, but like the Wrestle Kingdom match, just because they aren't necessarily allowed to go as all out as they are in Japan. But this is going to be insane. Like, AJ Styles, even just recently, has been feeling so like crisp and so good. Like, he's just so good. And the interactions between AJ and Shinsuke have been so fun and so interesting, and just the way that they interact with each other, like in the ring, the head pats recently, and just the whole thing has been so well done. And I also am glad to see that Shinsuke is finally getting this time to show people that he is a world champion. Like, this is like the original leader of Chaos, and people don't even know. They don't even know what he's capable of. And I can't wait for this match. I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. Assuming that there's no shenanigans from Gable and Benjamin.
Oh gosh, that would ruin it right there.
That would ruin it. If, like, I don't know where they've been going with like the recent SmackDown stuff and the Gable Benjamin stuff, and why they've been getting involved with Shinsuke and AJ, but I'm assuming it's just so that it's just filler. So this will be the headlining match. Like, I don't care if they close the show. This is the main event. And for any non-believers, like, this is going to be the match of the night, if not the weekend. So I can't wait. I can't believe it's happening.
Who do you think is going to win? And does it matter? Does it matter who wins?
It doesn't matter, but I do think that Shinsuke needs it more because he hasn't been established as a threat to anything. He just kind of he's kind of like, his gimmick was not handled well
Right.
throughout this year. With I don't know if you've seen, but like the text scrolls and like the rock star thing, like it's infuriating to see him mismanaged this poorly. Like this guy is a world champion. Just treat him like that. That's all you need to do. But they kind of treat him as this like weird drunk rock star. And
yes,
it's infuriating because he's so much better than that. So I don't know why they just chose to do this. I don't know where this trust is coming from, because it seems like they don't trust Shinsuke as a champion. But I want him to take it because it would establish him as main event material, and AJ Styles is already like established. Everybody already knows, and everybody already knows AJ Styles is the best. And if he's fighting Shinsuke, then he should also be facing the best. So I just don't see how AJ retaining could do anything for him, because he's already so well established. Even though I like AJ more personally, but Shinsuke needs it and needs to be established in the main event like yesterday.
exactly. And I think, part of it with Japanese wrestlers is, number one, if they don't have the mic skill, that's always like a knock on them. But I think what happened between like that stupid gimmick that they kind of like tried to put with him, as far as like the artist and that drunk rock star thing, is that when you get him in the ring, and I know a lot of it is primarily communication, especially if they're not familiar with each other's work, or maybe there's like that language barrier that could come up in the ring. I think when you have the wrestlers who have been to Japan, worked in Japan, like AJ Styles, and are comfortable calling their spots in the match, you're going to get the matches that you deserve, rather than the matches that we got sometimes with like Nakamura going up against some of these other SmackDown wrestlers.
Definitely.
But I really think, they brought him in the way that he was, as this hyped up superstar, and they should have just kept it going as they did with like Asuka.
Yeah.
Like if they had given Nakamura the Asuka push, then they both would have been in a fantastic position.
Totally. I completely agree with that. Like they just kind of put him in, and then he did well in NXT, but then just sort of floundered when he got to main roster, because like they just let it die. Like you could have just kept the push going. You could have just kept it going, but they made him like re-earn it, I guess. And I've heard that's, like, not to get like too into the business, but like I've heard that that's kind of how Vince works. Like he doesn't really care about what you've done outside of WWE, so you kind of have to start from the bottom with him. And to a degree, AJ Styles got the same treatment. Like he was brought in Royal Rumble last year, and then he kind of floundered for like a couple months with Jericho. It wasn't great, and then finally like started hitting his stride when he got to when he finally started getting into it with Kevin. I do remember AJ floundering for a little while, and then finally getting into where he needs to be. So just kind of like a WWE thing to do, to like break these poor champions, these poor foreign champions down.
All right, so I've got one last question as it relates to WrestleMania. Are we going to have a John Cena and Undertaker match? And if so, like, why has it been so terrible leading up to it? Because it was pure garbage. I saw tweets from people that are in like the business on some level, talking about how much trash and disrespectful some of the stuff was. Like, how could you not have like the Undertaker show up, or how could you have this and like John Cena's like rant or, call out end Raw and end the show like that.
Yeah.
So are we going to get a John Cena Undertaker match? Yes or no?
I'm gonna say no. I want to say no because the card is already so stacked. Like, you look at this card that we just talked about, and it's full. Like, it's straight full. I don't know how you're going to manage to find the time. Just logistically, there's no time for it. But even more so, Undertaker is done. Like, he needs to be done. The way that he went out last year, albeit against Roman, it was good. Like, the way that he left his hat in the ring, and his hat and his jacket were in the ring, and he left. And he hasn't been seen since. Like, let the man rest. He just got his hips replaced. He doesn't need to be wrestling right now. But I am worried that the American Badass is about to make a appearance because of Kid Rock, because technically American Badass is not retired. And it's a perfect opportunity for Kid Rock to sing the theme song on his way down the ramp. So I have a lingering feeling that we might get a Cena versus American Badass match, and I don't think it's necessary. I don't think that we should, but it'll be a very short match if it does happen. But I don't want that. I really don't want any of that to happen because we didn't sign up for this. And the way that he does call out Undertaker, like on it was a Raw, I think he came out, and just like, starts calling him names, trying to call him out, trying to like, he didn't actually ask nicely. He could have just asked, but he made like this big deal about how he wanted to be at WrestleMania, and like, poor John doesn't have a WrestleMania match. I guess I'll just go as a fan, but oh no, I still want to fight Undertaker. It's like, dude, can't you just host the show? Like, what is so, like, the New Day did it last year. Can you not do that? Like, you don't even need a match. Or, like, he could be the partner for Braun Strowman. Like, why? Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to bring out Undertaker, who we don't want to see hurt himself anymore? And, like, he can't put on a good match. It's just not fair. It's not fair to us as the viewers. It's not fair to Undertaker. And, like, I don't want to see it, but I have a sneaking feeling that that's what we're going to see. And if he does show up as a fan, I hope he's like front row center with like just covered in merch, Like, that's what I actually want to see, is him like in the front row watching, just right in the middle, just covered in his own merch.
That would be hilarious,
right? With like foam hands or something.
And then you've got the end of the show, and AJ or Nakamura's like holding the championship up, and you just pan to like sad John Cena.
Right? Like, that would be a great addition. That's some much needed comedy from a comedic actor. Like, just have him go as a fan. Or even better, have him like do a pre-show segment where he's like going through WrestleMania Access event and like going to all the autograph sessions, or like trying to like get photo ops with the wrestlers. I would love to watch that. I would actually watch that. But I don't think that they're that clever with it, and I think that we might be getting an unwanted American Badass match, which is just not fair. Like, it's insulting at this point to give us American Badass.
For those people who are listening and they've made it through our WrestleMania, look
Rants.
at this upcoming WrestleMania, where can people find you, Tali, on the internet to follow up with, talking? Maybe they'll be like, "Oh, you were so right about this match." Where can people find you?
Well, first of all, people rarely think I'm right about wrestling, but I do like to debate and I do like to have Twitter conversations. So you can find me on Twitter. Usually, I'm most active at SuperTaunt, and you can also find me at SuperTaunt on Instagram. My website is www.tallyxoxo.com. And you can find me on Facebook, but not super active on there, at Tali Cosplay. But really, if you just go to my website, you'll find everything you need to know.
And not only can you go there, but you have a Twitch channel.
I do have a Twitch channel. I forgot all about it. It's kind of separate at this point. Yeah, I stream. I've been trying to pick up streaming, and I try to do it twice a week, but recently, because I'm actually going to Kuwait on Monday for GX 2018. So I have been extremely busy trying to put my costume together for that. So I haven't been doing twice a week. I've been doing once a week. And we stream, myself, my best friend Vanessa, and her husband, and one of my other best friends, Adam. We have an internet wrestling promotion that we stream on Fridays at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. And it's really fun. We just kind of hang out, talk about wrestling, and our gimmick is that I'm actually saving to go to wrestling school, and I start in May. So we're we have a gimmick that if you donate $20 and above, I will perform a poorly executed wrestling submission on Vanessa. And it's quite fun. we raised some money for my wrestling school, so that's super appreciated. And if you don't have, obviously you don't have to donate to watch. And if you can't donate, then sharing the stream is super appreciated. But we do it every Friday, 8 o'clock, and just hang out, talk about wrestling. It gets kind of crazy sometimes. And the wrestling, like the actual internet wrestling promotion that we have is quite fun in itself. So if you have some extra time on a Friday, come hang out with us.
Absolutely. And I'll have the links to everything in the show notes and on the websites. And I think I try to share whenever you are streaming. I try to jump in there just to watch, because it's always amusing. Yep.
It's something. It's definitely something to watch.
It's definitely something. Or as we said earlier, it's definitely a match.
It's definitely a stream with 3 idiots talking about wrestling. So it's generally what we would call it. But it's called New Wave Wrestling, and we're on it on Fridays. So that's about it.
Awesome. Well, Tali, I want to say thank you for coming back yet again. This is now the 3rd episode that we've done together. Last year we did WrestleMania. This year we got WrestleMania. And I just want you to know that I love getting to do these with you. I love catching up with you regardless, like on the internet and everything. But this is always fun.
It's always fun. It's always fun. It's always a pleasure to be here. I don't do a lot of podcasts, so this is always like a nice little thing to do every year before WrestleMania. And it actually helps me like get on top of everything before WrestleMania. So it's helpful, it's educational, and it's fun. So you're hitting all the right spots.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I am looking forward to hearing about your wrestling school experience in May. So I'm definitely going to be.
It's going to be a thing.
It is going to be a thing. I'm ready. I'm ready to hear how it goes, especially because there's only so many like really good wrestling schools. And the one that you are going to, because I'm not going to say it on here, but the one that you are planning to go to is like one of those where you hear the name and you're like, damn, that's like one of the best people to be running a wrestling school.
I have heard nothing but good things about the school that I'm going to. And I mean, I live in Calgary. I'll let you guess what it is. It's pretty easy to figure out if you just think about it, and it's not the Hearts. But I've heard so many good things about him, and I've heard nothing but great reviews. Like he keeps you safe, he teaches you, he makes you a full package. Like, and some of his previous students are, they're on Impact, they're on WWE. Some of them, I think one of them is in New Japan. Like, they're doing really well, and I'm really excited just to go through it. I don't know where it's going to take me afterwards. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to be a wrestler afterwards. I don't know. I don't really know. I just know that I want to be involved in the business, and I know I want to do something in it because I just love it so much. This is just what I want to do. So hopefully I won't be broken and bruised by the time next time we talk, but I will be trying to do some sort of weekly updates about my school, or like trying to do some sort of like, scratch to finish vlog series about going through all of this training, just so people can see what it's like. So watch that maybe on my YouTube. But it should be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm equally as nervous. I'm equally as like frightened. But I'm just forcing myself to do it at this point. And the worst case, is that I force myself to get through this. I hate it, but I at least force myself to get through all of the classes. I won't quit on it. So that's my one goal.
I can only wish you the best of luck for it, because there's nothing else I can say or do to help you on that part.
No, it's just me in the gym 5 days a week getting ready for it. So, but thank you. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Well, we will talk again after WrestleMania is over. I'll shoot you messages on Twitter and be like, how dare they do this to us?
No, everything we figured today is just, it's not even gonna happen.
But thank you so much again.
Always a pleasure to be here, and I guess we'll talk on podcast in another year.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.